Here's my 30-second story with Guinness. As soon as my sister and I get home for the holidays, we don't even unpack. We head straight to our pub. The bartender already knows our order, Guinness and fries. We laugh all night, catch up with old friends, and walk home with faces sore from smiling. It's one of my favorite nights of the year. That was my 30-second story with Guinness.
Guinness Draft Stout. Please enjoy responsibly. Imported by Diageo Beer Company, USA, New York, New York.
Thursday Night Football is on, and it's only on Prime Video.
Wide open, touchdown.
This week, the Dallas Cowboys and Detroit Lions face off in a high-octane clash.
Look at this, it's on the money.
Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern with football's best party. TNF Tonight, presented by Verizon. Not a Prime member? Not a problem. Simply sign up for a 30-day free trial. It's the Cowboys and Lions, Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on Prime Video. Restrictions apply. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details.
Today's episode is about where offensive line coaching wisdom comes from and where it's going next. You're going to hear short teaching moments from 4 coaches whose influence runs deep in this profession: Andy Reid, Bob Wylie, Dante Scarnecchia, and Jon Gruden. These aren't scheme lessons or drill cut-ups. They're lessons behind the lessons, the ideas that shape how these men coached, taught, communicated, and prepared their players. And they're the same ideas we built into the first Mushroom Society AI mentor, and the same ideas that guide the Mushroom Society membership today. Let's start with Kansas City Chiefs head coach Andy Reid.
Yeah, so listen, I really, and I think this is probably how we all feel. I wanted to be the best offensive line coach I could be, and I strive for that every day that I had a chance to coach the position. I've kind of kept that the same way as a head coach. I tell the players that, listen, I'm going to try to give you the best I can give you every day, and I expect that in return. And if I'm not doing that, let me know. I'm going to let you know. You let me know if I'm not bringing it every day. I still come back to that first step. I wanted to be the best line coach I could be. So I never planned on being a head football coach. I never planned on being a quarterback coach or any of that stuff. I tried to just bust my tail. And that's where Tom Levat came in. Tom Levat was the first one in the building, and he made the coffee in the morning. He taught this Mormon kid right here how to make coffee in the morning. So because I was going to join him. I was going to try to hang with him and make sure that I did my job and did it to the best of my ability. And I think that helps all the way around. Talking to the Bob Wylies and Howard Mudds and the older line coaches that were Tom Levat, these guys that were there as before me, I would try to talk to those guys. Just wanted to be a line coach. Somewhere I wanted to grow from that tight end coach and just be the line coach and nothing else, to be the best at it. I think that showed the people around me a little bit that I was into it and love football and that whole deal. So that helped kind of move it along here just a little bit. But anyways, that attitude, I think, is important. So the notes, so I'd write down everything determined, and I determined whether I liked it, didn't like it, how could I improve it, whatever it was, I tried to analyze it, I guess would be the best word to use. So the notes were from Mike Holmgren. I didn't start with this until I got into the pros, but I wish I would have started earlier, but the topics were, the quarterback play. All right. So I had to learn that. Even when I was a tight end coach, here I'm doing tight ends and assistant offensive line. So I got to work with the tackles. And so I'm used to coaching all these offensive linemen and doing all these drills, doing all this stuff. Now I've got 3 tight ends that I'm really heavily in charge of. So I had some time there to keep my eyes and ears open. I'm sitting in all these meetings, man. It's like being in a foreign country. I'm in with all the skill guys now. So I try to learn all the different positions, how they fit together. In particular, in the pass game, I kind of knew the run game from having to put that together as a line coach. The pass game part of it, I was learning that and tried to ask questions. And I think the more you ask, that people see you care, the more they know you've done your homework. You ask a good question there, a solid question, and that you want to be the best you can be.
When Andy Reid talks about writing everything down, he's pointing to something deeper than organization. He's talking about coach identity. Once you start collecting ideas, studying other coaches and writing things out, you begin to see what's personal to you and what it is that you actually believe, what fits your players and how you want to teach your room. That's how a philosophy takes shape, not by copying someone else, but by sorting through what you've learned and deciding what matters to you. Our first Mushroom Society AI mentor was built to help with exactly that process. It helps coaches turn ideas into clearer teaching points and more organized plans specifically for their offensive line, and it draws from the same Cool Clinic presentations you're hearing clips from today. When you sit down with other coaches and compare how you think, taking what you think, how others think, and reflecting on that, plus your exposure to other coaches and knowledge is how teaching identity really grows. Let's move on to Coach Bob Wylie.
Yeah, but you see how much coaching that goes into and organizing their thoughts, okay, from when the ball is dead, okay, to when the ball is going to be snapped again, right? I don't think, and I've been to a lot of football clinics in my career. Really, I've been to hundreds of them. I don't know, maybe in the thousands. I don't know, okay? But I don't hear people talk about that process of what your players have to go through, okay, when the ball is dead. And it doesn't. And it's on every play, okay? It's on every play. So when the whistle blows, okay, when the whistle blows, you've got another slate. You've got another slate that you have to fill up, okay, and process all that information that you've got from that last play. Then you need to get rid of the last play. And then you need to process all the information, okay, for the new play that's going to happen, right? So organize their thoughts, right? Give them a way to organize their thoughts from when the whistle blows to when the ball is going to get snapped again. So I'm trying to coach you guys up a little bit in that process, which is part of a communication process, right? And it has nothing to do with the schematic technical things that we're trying to do with blocking the front. It has nothing to do with that. It's got a little bit to do with what technique I'm going to use. It has that involved in it, okay? But you've got all this information, okay, that you have to organize in that short period of time, okay? Make them do it. Make them use it wisely, okay? Right, and you find out.
Coach Wylie's message here is direct. Before players can think clearly, the coach has to think clearly. So if the coach hasn't sorted out what matters and the teaching is cluttered or the picture is inconsistent, players won't play fast, and now it doesn't matter really their talent level because it's dumbed down a bit because the knowledge isn't clear to them. Coach Wylie's triangle and his 3 questions are less about player decisions than they are about coaching decisions. How a coach filters the game, simplifies the information, and builds a system that players can actually use. That's how we built the first Mushroom Society AI mentor. It gives you a way to work through your own thoughts and tighten your language, test your explanations, and see whether the way that you're teaching it lines up with the things that your players need. We've also built a powerful community where coaches can come together in the Mushroom Society. So that's how you're able to see how other coaches are thinking on some of the same problems so that your exposure sharpens your own clarity. Now let's move on to Dante Scarnecchia, who spent 34 years with the New England Patriots.
Let me go back to observing other coaches. Bob and I were just talking about Howard Mudd. And I think that it was at the end of my first year here with the Patriots, we went to the Senior Bowl. And at the Senior Bowl, you know, I heard that Howard was going to be coaching one of the offensive lines. And I said, man, I've heard a lot about this guy. I don't know him, but I'm going to go get as close to those drills as I can because I want to hear what he has to say and how he says it. And I will honestly tell you this, fellas, it was 3 of the great days of my life, okay? To hear Howard teach the game and the way he taught the game and the coaching style that he used, I thought it was all extraordinary. I sought Howard out. We became friendly. We became friends, and we lost Howard last spring, and he was a great coach and and a great mentor to a lot of guys. And, you know, as an offensive line coach and a guy who played the offensive line, he was a guy that really taught us all things. And I would also say this about Howard. He was a great advocate for offensive line coaches. And he's sorely missed, believe me.
What Coach Scarnecchia shares about Howard Mudd is a reminder of how coaching actually works. He didn't build his standard by himself. He learned it from someone who took the time to teach it to him, someone who showed him what good coaching looks like up close. That's mentorship, and mentorship is the root of offensive line coaching, probably more than any other positions. The standards you carry today often come from people who invested in you earlier in your career, and their expectations and habits become your expectations and habits. Again, that's something we thought about in detail as we've developed the Mushroom Society. It's a place where offensive line coaches can continue that same kind of learning, seeing how others prepare, teach, solve problems, and handle the details that define the offensive line position. Let's finish up with Jon Gruden.
I look at some of these offensive line coaches that are out there today. You got to be able to adapt. You have to be able to adapt. We may hire a guy with some run and shoot background like Kevin Gilbride. You're going to have to adapt to that. You may go work for Rex Ryan, a great defensive coach. He might have different thoughts about how we're going to practice or how we're going to approach a game. You got to be able to adapt to that. You may work for Sean Payton when he comes back and coaches. He's a maniacal preparation freak. He's going to be in there all night with candles, and you're not leaving until the candle is burnt out. So you got to get ready to match his intensity, and you got to be able to match his schedule. You might go work for Steve Spurrier if he comes back. They may start drawing plays the night before the game or at halftime, and you got to adapt to that. So that word adapt, I think, is really important to being a great offensive line coach, because there's a million ways to skin a cat, as you all know. Chip Kelly, hell, he may never huddle. He might run 7 plays in the first 3 seconds of the game. They're trying to get you with tempo. So you got to coach on the field differently than you've ever coached before. But I think your knowledge of the game, your ability to go out and acquire knowledge will improve your versatility, where you can adapt to any one of these guys and do a great job.
Adaptability is one of the hardest parts of offensive line coaching. The looks change, personnel changes, the stresses change. The offensive line coach has to stay steady through all of it. And Coach Gruden's point is clear. You don't learn adaptability on your own. You learn it by watching how others coach and adjust, and how they communicate when things get messy, how they reset their players like Coach Wylie talked about, how they manage information when the picture isn't clean. And I think that's one of the strengths of the Mushroom Society membership. It gives coaches like you access to different ways that other coaches think and teach, and the insights that help you respond better when the game doesn't go the way you planned. Coach Gruden learned adaptability by being around good coaches. And coaches today can grow the same way, by getting around other people who do the job at a high level. What's great about this time for us is that it is a digital age. It's an information age. So now through some of the tools we put together, you don't even have to leave your own office to do that, though I still recommend getting out and seeing people. This just expands the level to which you can grow with other coaches. If these clips resonated with you, the personalization Reid described, the clarity that Coach Wylie demands, the mentorship that Coach Scarnecchia lived through, and the adaptability that Coach Gruden talks about, then you understand the value of the Mushroom Society. It's built for offensive line coaches who want to keep learning the way these coaches learned, from shared experience, honest conversation, from teaching ideas that you can actually use. For those of you who are interested, we really want to get you in that community. If you've been going to the Cool Clinic, this is a very affordable add-on to your Cool Clinic ticket. And it's going to give you year-round offensive line development, teaching ideas, and problem solving from coaches at every level. We'll have monthly mini clinics, roundtables, and focus sessions, and then private discussions on meeting structure, communication, preparation, just about any offensive line coach topic you can think about. we'll continue also to build some of these new AI mentors. And I think the power of that is that it helps you personalize all that information. So you're not just taking away one thing like we talk about at clinics. You're actually taking that one thing and hopefully several things and personalizing it to the situation that you're in. And that's really important. Context matters so much in this game. And that's how we've designed the Mushroom Society and the AI that we're building into it. So all of this makes cool clinic teaching available in a modern, easy-to-use form as part of your preparation. Everything's really centered on this one idea. Coaching is a craft, and you get better by learning from other coaches. If that's how you want to grow, please join us at themushroom-society.com. The link is in the show notes. You can also get the link to our Mushroom Society AI Mentor, which is built around the knowledge base from the clinics of Dante Scarnecchia, Jon Gruden, Andy Reid, and Coach Bob Wylie.